I leave you as I came before you in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. And now it is my great honor to bring to you a hard-driven soldier. I saw her walk in the door. She is a strong, courageous woman, a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I think even a great-great-grandmother. Is that right? She has pulled herself from the mud, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad pulled himself from the mud, as many of us came from the mud. And now we as women are the second self of God. I want to introduce to you none other than Sister Dr. Arisha Muhammad, the second self of God himself.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. I further bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the risen Savior, and thank him for his coming, and for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who's our divine reminder, warner, teacher, and guide in our midst today. And I greet you all with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I was telling student minister Jason, I get the opportunity by the grace of Allah to go speak at different mosques, but it is nothing like coming home to speak to your family. And so I am a little nervous, but I am so very sure, as Allah always does, that once I start with the word, it'll change that energy for me, if you will. Let's give a round of applause for those who came before me, especially, I didn't hear the brother, but I heard Sister Valerie. And Sister Valerie made a good way interest into what Allah has blessed me with as we close with Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak. And I pray everyone's Ramadan was successful, that Allah blessed you with the very desires of your heart. And as Sister Valerie stated earlier, do not go back to niggardliness. We not only fast in the Islamic community, I happen to know that the Christian community fasts as well. And one thing when we fast, it's a sacrifice, but the sacrifice is not to be seen of men. It is an inward sacrifice because I am looking for a change. I want something different to come out of why I'm doing this. So just not drinking and just not eating is a small percentage of what we should be sacrificing. The sacrifice should be niggardliness, cowardliness, being oppressed by debt. Because most of us are in debt. And we're oppressed by that. We have a refuge prayer that we sing. We say, "Oh Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness." Because we lazy. We want somebody to give us something. We always looking with our hands out, but we say we believe that there is a God. But we wait with our hand out. Thank you. Didn't take long? Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. My subject today is rising above emotions into thinking of God. Study guide number 18, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say, the study guides are for self-development. It's not for me to look at my sister or look at my brother or look at my man. It's for me to go internal and look at me. So is Ramadan. Ramadan is for me to go internal and look at me and see what it is that I need to change. Because I'm not perfect, and if I got a perfect person in the building, could you please stand and identify yourself? Because we want to know how you do that. In the study guides, at the beginning, it is written that God experiences emotions. According to the scripture, he loves, he hates, he grieves, and he sorrows. He is referred to by some writers as a jealous God. However, he rises above emotions in the decisions he makes. His decisions are based upon how temporal affects generations, eons into the future. So he's not making decisions based on the right now. He's making decisions based on the future. How's it going to affect my children? How's it going to affect my grandchildren? How's it going to affect my great-grandchildren? See? Because we stay in our feelings. We always got a feeling about something. And we throw the word love. I don't even think we know the proper way to use the word love. Because we love chicken. All right now, somebody identify that. You know, I used to love great Kool-Aid and fried chicken. See? And we don't know the difference of loving and being in love. That's why the divorce rate is so high. Because we love you for a moment, and then when I stop liking you, I stop loving you because I'm not in love with you, so bye-bye. What's that thing? Bye, Felicia. And we go on to look because we don't think about our future. We think about how we feel and what that feeling is going to grant us right now. The dictionary defines emotion as an affective state of consciousness. I will. The dictionary defines emotion as an affective state of consciousness. That means you're aware of what you're feeling. So we live as a people in a state of poverty consciousness. I'm always broke. I ain't never got enough. And I always want more. And living in that type of state affects my emotion. It affects if I'm going to be sad. It affects if I'm going to be happy. It affects if I'm going to like you or if I'm going to dislike you. It affects my fears. But I don't equate that with how I'm living. We're going to rise above emotions into the thinking of God today. That's my primary purpose for being here right now. Because, you know, I looked at, you know, we're in 2017. I don't know how many of y'all paid attention, but I'm not a numerologist, but I realized that those numbers equal 10. And 10 is the X. This is the year of the X. And we ain't paid attention. Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy. This is the year of the X. It's time for us to X out all the stuff that we've been doing all those years up till now. You worried about a white boy on Capitol Hill. You think he got control of your environment, but if you look deep down inside of yourself where you really live, and if you have a conscious contact with God as you understand him, if he is Rabbil Alamin, then you control your environment. Rise above emotion. We want to start running and living in fear and oh my God, the president. Okay, he got a job like I got one. See? And how I produce on my job is what I get. If I don't produce, I don't get nothing. But if I produce something, I get something. And sometimes it is not monetarily. It just might be the satisfaction of the job. I told somebody the other day, she was complaining about coming to work. I said, beloved, I get to come to work. Because I've woke up in a many of jail cells, a many of prison walls. I done woke up, in a many of crack houses. So I get to come to work. See, I can't live in the valley of the shadow of death. So we walk around, we get the tools that we need, we get the study guides, we get the auditing, we get the stuff that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has told us to run to, and then we still sit and complain. And we wonder why our health is so bad. Because our health is connected to our emotions. I want us to look at three things, if we will. And if somebody will keep time with me, please, because I understand time. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, we don't take the believer's time for granted. So I'm mindful of that wherever I'm at. So we're going to look at these three things. The first thing is your mind. Your mind is your reasoning and thinking process. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad tells us to think 5 times before we speak. There's a reason for that. There's a rhythm to doing that. Because as you're thinking 5 times before you speak, you're breathing. And as you're breathing, your body is becoming soothed. So if you can just say, you wanted to just really tell the person what you really thought about them, but I'm counting, let me think 5 times before I speak. Whew. Then that word don't come out your mouth. It's something else. Or at least you leave that person alone. Something happens. 2, your emotions is your feeling process. And what I've come to know is everything you feel ain't real. It's something that you've thought up in your mind based on a perception or based on a situation, and your emotions have dictated how you're going to act or react. And most of us, we don't act, we react. See? And third, your will is your deciding and choosing process. You get the opportunity to decide and choose what your life can be. Now, I hear people say all the time, well, I ain't got no control over what's going on with me. You in trouble. You in trouble. Because if you don't have any power or control over what's going on with you, you running amok. Chaos follows you everywhere you go. You ain't never happy about nothing. Woe is me, po is me, why is this happening to me again? Why she looking at me like that? Why he got that kind of car? Why he picked her to marry? Why he looked at him? Come on. And we get stirred up in things, and our situations in life never changed. I remember when I was doing drugs and alcohol, and God done blessed me to be 23 years clean and sober today. Praise be to Allah. Because I decided and I chose that. But I remember when I was doing drugs and alcohol, I remember thinking that was the way of life. And that was the way it was going to always be. Going to the penitentiary, when I was going to the penitentiary, it was like getting stripes, because I'm OG, triple OG from the woo, 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 to woo. So, we used to have a thing about saying, oh, I can do time standing on my head. And we was doing it, standing on our head. Go in one door, come out the other one. Go in another door. And after doing about years, I said, okay, I need this to stop. And I was telling somebody, it was funny. It was almost like magic. When I stopped using drugs and drinking, I stopped going to the penitentiary. Might seem like a miracle, huh? But the two were correlated together. One went with the other. But I had to change the process in the way I was living. And when I came into the Nation of Islam, I was 13 months sober. Used to carrying guns, not purses. Didn't know how to do none of this. None of this. Dresses up to my God Bless America, whoop. It was crazy. And I came in the mosque like that. I came to go hear student minister Tony speak. And I always share this story because you don't never know what God's seed he's gonna drop, or who he's gonna use to drop the seed to turn your life around now. I literally, in a figuratively way, owe Minister Tony Muhammad my life. Because the words that he was speaking at that time in Long Beach at the community center, I walked into the community center and in my stuff, with my tats all showing, and I like to think today the sister probably looked at me and said, "Bless her heart." And she stood on the aisle and she motioned me to me and she put me in the front. I wasn't trying to be in the front. I didn't really go to be seen. And I had went to the lecture with my boyfriend because my boyfriend was in the mosque. I stayed around here long enough to figure out we don't have boyfriends in the mosque, sisters. Just wanted to clarify that. But I went there with my boyfriend. And thank you, Father. And so the sister motioned me and she had me have a seat, and she had this beautiful scarf around her neck, and she pulled the scarf off of her neck. This is proper handling of people. She pulled the scarf off of her neck and she draped it around my arms. And then the sister sitting next to me, because I had on that dress, she took her handkerchief out of her purse and she laid it across my lap. Didn't say nothing, didn't look at me crazy, didn't make me feel like I didn't need to be there, just gently handled me with love. And so Minister Tony was standing up there, and there was a brother on post with him, and the brother kept looking at me. I later found out that he was a security brother, but I thought the brother was looking at me because he was trying to get with me after the mosque meeting. I was like, oh, he pretty sharp. My thinking process. But Minister Tony was teaching about the dry bones. And he was talking about Ezekiel in the dry bones. And he was talking about how the breath of life was spread over the dry bones and how they came to life. And it was something about in the way he was delivering that I knew at 13 months sober that I was still on parole for 5 years because I had just did 13 years and I was still on parole. And I knew at that moment, at that time, that if my thinking process didn't change, if my reasoning process didn't change, if my emotions and my feeling process didn't change, if my deciding and choosing process didn't change, I was dying. I knew that I was headed back because they already had a decree on my head which says 3 strikes you in, 25 years to life. The decree was already written. So it was time to change. We still talking about rising above emotions into the thinking of God, about the way I feel. And so Minister Tony delivered that lecture, and the next Sunday I went to go to the mosque on Centinela. We was on Centinela over in Inglewood. And I got through the check post there, and a brother moved my car. And when the brother moved my car, I had some stuff up, because I still think with 9mm. I hadn't thought about, And the sister captain at that time called me in the office, and she said, "Sister, do you have a weapon in your car?" "Oh, yes, ma'am." She said, "Well, you have to move your car." "Oh, yes, ma'am. No problem." And so I went to go take it back down, and they was like, "No, now. You need to take it off the property because we don't carry weapons." Those were some of the things that I had to learn not to do. I had to learn that. I had to rise above my emotions into the thinking of God to realize that God is everything and that he protects me wherever I move, that I don't have to have a weapon, that I don't have to undress to be beautiful. He had to teach me those things. So when we look at rising above emotions into the thinking of God, you have to ask yourself, where are you right now in your life? And are you happy? Because if what I've come to know living almost 62 years, be here in August, 62, coming around the mountain, is that the only person that can make you happy is you. There's no such person, being, that can instill in you happy. You have to be happy with yourself. They can share in your happiness, but if you sitting around, sister, waiting for him to make you happy, I'm sorry. Stop. Same thing with you, brother. I ain't happy with her. Are you happy with yourself? Because that's the question. When you look in the mirror in the morning, what do you see? Do you see death and defeat? Or do you see a God? The scriptures say, "Ye be all gods, children of the Most High God." And Jesus said, "The same power I have, it has been given unto you." So any situation or any circumstances, you have the power to say, be, and do some work, and it is. You waiting on a house? Go get it. What you waiting for? But our problem is that we like houses, cars, and money, and all that horizontal stuff. I want to read something to you that the Honorable Minister Farrakhan stated in an excerpt from Rising Above Emotions into the Thinking of God. He said in the study guides, "It is not enough that we grow horizontally through the acquisitions of farms, factories, banks, industry, trade, commerce, money, and good homes. Why? Because horizontal growth alone is death." You want all that stuff because you think that stuff gonna make you happy. Now, don't get me wrong, stuff is nice because I like stuff, but stuff is not my God. See, my thing is, I think they tired of me at my job because, every time they threaten me with my job, I'll be like, well, I was looking for one when I got this one. I'm not going to get all frazzled, He goes on to say, all dead things are on a horizontal level. All dead things are on a horizontal level. Can you vision that? He said, therefore, we must grow vertically. Grow up rightness, or we will be overcome by horizontal growth. You keep looking at that stuff, and that stuff gonna kill you. And the cold part about it, you waste all your life trying to get it, and then you leave it here to leave others to fight over it. Oh, y'all didn't hear that, huh? Yeah, they fight over your stuff when you gone. And I know that because when my mama went on, them people acted a fool up there in Nebraska. And, and I was like, y'all gone on. Y'all can have that. I live in California. Y'all going to do whatever y'all going to do with all that stuff because it didn't make any sense. And so we work ourselves to death. Y'all all right? Okay, I pray Allah. So now I want us to look at the physical health of us. Because we in bad health, beloved. We overweight. We got diabetes. We stressed out. We can't run across the street. Well, I can't. Well, maybe I can run across the street and down the block a little bit, but I had to practice that. Sister Valerie spoke it well when she said the pharmaceutical company, they don't want you to get well. So they tell you you got high blood pressure pills that keep your high blood pressure. Ain't that crazy? And when somebody comes along, like somebody from the nation or somebody who holistically knows what's going on, you don't want to listen to them, but you'll listen to Kaiser. Kaiser can tell you whatever kind of problem you got, and if Kaiser said it, okay, I'm going to do that. But somebody come along and tell you to stop taking that pill and take a herb or take a water, and don't get me wrong now, I don't want everybody running out of here talking about, I ain't going to take, no, come on, don't be crazy. Because the minister did say now, some of that stuff we need to take, but just be mindful of what we take. So we all know health isn't just a physical thing. God created us as a holistic being with a spirit, body, and a soul. There's 3 parts of us. We generally just treat the body. We really treat our soul and our spirit. How do you do that? Study. Pray. Meditate. See? Take 5 minutes a day just to sit with yourself. Some of us can't even sit with ourselves without a TV, a radio, an iPad. We got our children with iPads and iPhones, and now the babies got phones. I was at a restaurant and I looked around, and everybody, the children, had their little iPads and had their stuff on, and the parents wasn't talking to each other and they wasn't talking to the children. That's crazy. We played hopscotch and, flag football. I got 10 brothers, so we played flag football. Badminton, dodgeball. We was outside in the park. We had go-kart. My little 7-year-old great-granddaughter, I was telling her, I said, let's go outside. She said, outside for what? She said, Nana, why are we going outside? It's too hot outside. She's 7, but she know how to work her iPad. So I talked to my granddaughter and said, you need to get this girl in the park, and she started doing more things. But I'm just saying, we don't spend time with our children, and then we wonder what's wrong with them. We're mad at society when we are the parents. Praise be to Allah. So it's saying that, looking at the body, the spirit,